thank you all for coming. It's great to see this many farm writers on the line. And I know that we were supposed to have this event a couple different times, I believe, but this funny little thing called COVID keeps getting in our way. But we are farm writers and we're resilient. So we kept pivoting and pivoting and pivoting, which is perhaps the key word of the year. And so, yeah, I'm just glad to see everyone today. So we will, I'll just kind of lay some ground rules, just sort of quickly explain how we're going to run this today, and then we will get going. We are joined right now by the minister, who I will introduce in a moment, as well as Kelsey Johnson, who will be our moderator. And so it's about 11 or 1:15 Eastern, little after. And so we're going to try and wrap this up by 2 p.m. And yeah, so other than that, I will introduce our guest of honor as well as our moderator, and we will go from there. So you'll see that we're joined by Marie-Claude Bibeau. She is Canada's Federal Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food. Ms. Bibeau is the MP for Compton-Stanstead in Montreal, Quebec. Prior to being appointed to Agriculture Minister, Bibeau was the federal government's Minister of International Development and La Francophonie. And she will be joined today for our conversation with Kelsey Johnson. Most of you probably know Kelsey. She's obviously a member of the Canadian Farm Writers Federation and a journalist writer for The Sprout, which is a daily roundup of all things ag in Canada. Kelsey's currently enrolled in a master's program at Carleton focused on public policy and administration. And prior to her time with The Sprout and iPolitics, she was a reporter with Reuters. So please help me welcome these two ladies, and we will get going here. So I will turn it over to you, Minister, to bring greetings, and then we will open up a Q&A, which will be moderated by Kelsey. So, Minister Bibeau, please take it away.
Merci, bonjour à tous. It's great to visit with you again. We were together not so long ago. Would have been better to see you in person, but as you said, we pivot or we adapt all the time this year. I want to thank every one of you. Your passion for Canadian agriculture shows in the work you do. I'm sorry, my screen is frozen and I need a bit of help. So, tout d'abord, je voulais vous remercier à tous de participer à cet événement et vous dire que votre passion pour le travail que vous faites pour notre agriculture se voit dans votre travail et c'est très apprécié. As agricultural journalists, you all play a vital role. Your stories reach producers and an urban audience who are often far removed from the farm. And today, with the pandemic, these stories are more important than ever. Canadians are paying attention and appreciate the work everyone puts into our food supply chain that keeps our grocery shelves stocked with quality and healthy food. Today, we've come together to discuss the food policy for Canada and its importance in today's agriculture and food landscape. For the Department of Agriculture and Agri-Food and the entire sector, the food policy represents a new approach to the big picture of our food system. In June 2019, I launched the food policy, the first ever for Canada. However, the process started in 2017 with Minister Macaulay. In 2017, is it my microphone? I'm sorry, is it okay with you?
Yes, we can hear.
Okay,
yep.
good.
Perfect, Minister, you're good.
Sorry about that for some technical problem, apparently. So even if I had the pleasure and the privilege to launch the food policy, I must pay credit to my predecessor, Minister Macaulay, who started the process in 2017. Our government kicked off a national conversation that engaged over 45,000 Canadians, with lots of community-led and MP-led town halls across the country. And I've done my own in Compton, Stansted, in the Eastern Townships in Quebec. It was based on all of those consultations that we developed, a unifying vision to guide what policies we would pursue. That vision is all people in Canada are able to access a sufficient amount of safe, nutritious, and culturally diverse food, and Canada's food system is resilient and innovative, sustains our environment, and supports our economy. Donc, la vision qui porte notre politique alimentaire pour le Canada est la suivante. Toutes les personnes vivant au Canada peuvent avoir accès à une quantité suffisante d'aliments salubres, nutritifs et culturellement diversifiés. Le système alimentaire du Canada est résilient et novateur, protège notre environnement et soutient notre économie. Our first major initiative under the policy was targeted at food insecurity. In Canada, 1 in 8 households experience incidents of hunger because they don't have access to the necessary food resources. During pandemic, the number of food insecure households increased to 1 in 7. These numbers are worse for certain regions and communities. For example, in Nunavut, a majority of households experience food insecurity. And we know this is unacceptable. Helping all people living in Canada access healthy food is a priority and something I care deeply about. So last year, we launched the Local Food Infrastructure Fund to strengthen food networks across Canada. Backed by a federal investment of $50 million, the fund is helping hundreds of local organizations across Canada. Some are purchasing new refrigerated trucks. Others are planting community gardens and installing solar panels. Of course, when the pandemic hit, the scale of response required was different. Besides all the supports we rolled out to help farmers, our government quickly responded to the urgent food security issues brought on by the COVID-19 crisis through a number of measures. We first invested $100 million to help over 3,200 community food organizations across the country, including 6 million meals for 2 million Canadians. Earlier this fall, the Prime Minister announced a second $100 million to support food security organizations during this difficult time. We invested an additional $25 million to Nutrition North to make essentials more affordable for Northern and Indigenous families. As well, the $50 million Service Food Rescue Program is expected to redirect about 6 million kilos of food to Canadians in need while helping to stabilize markets for farmers. Some of you have attended the Honourable Food Summit last month, where I announced the launch of the new Food Waste Reduction Challenge. Reducing food waste is an important part of a sustainable and innovative food system. It has the potential of supporting food security and protecting the environment. It's estimated that over half of Canada's food supply is wasted. Through the first round of the challenge, we will award up to $10.8 million for innovative business model solutions that prevent or create value from food waste. Solutions may involve such things as artificial intelligence, robotics, precision agriculture, the creation of new markets, and the upcycling of wasted food. En novembre, j'ai annoncé le lancement du premier volet du défi de réduction du gaspillage alimentaire. Ce défi est un élément important de la politique alimentaire pour le Canada. Nous allons attribuer jusqu'à 10,8 millions de dollars à des modèles d'affaires novateurs qui permettront d'éviter le gaspillage alimentaire. Ça pourrait être des modèles qui mettent à profit l'intelligence artificielle, la robotique ou l'agriculture de précision. Ça pourrait être des solutions créatives pour ouvrir de nouveaux marchés ou pour donner une deuxième vie à des aliments qui autrement seraient perdus. The challenge will be an excellent opportunity for agriculture journalists like you to continue raising awareness about food waste and to share innovative stories with Canadians. Finally, the food policy has targeted over $24 million to help the CFIA, the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, crack down on food fraud. The goal is to protect consumers from being deceived by intentional mislabeling and to protect food businesses from unfair competition. Last week, CFIA published its results regarding the sampling and testing of honey. Between April 2019 and March 2020, CFIA has prevented more than 83,000 kilograms of adulterated honey from being sold in Canada. This is great news for Canada's honey producers and consumers alike. So we continue to move forward on the food policy for Canada, and there will be more to come. I really want to strengthen our focus on agricultural awareness, instill pride and trust in the amazing work done by our producers. As agricultural communicators, you have a vital role to play in educating the public, which is often many generations removed from the farm. So I thank you for your interest in the food policy for Canada. And as you can see, I'm pretty excited about that. I really look forward for a discussion. Alors, merci. Et j'ai bien hâte d'avoir cette discussion avec vous.
Excellent. Thank you, Minister. Now, Kelsey, I will turn it over to you to moderate the Q&A. And just so everyone knows, if you have a question to ask the Minister, go right ahead. There is a raise hand function, and you can do that, or you can type a comment or question into the chat box, and those will sort of be addressed as they come up. So Kelsey, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Trevor. Hi, everybody. It's so good to see everybody and all the familiar faces. So Minister, a couple of people had sent some questions in ahead of time. So I think we'll start with those questions and then we'll move to questions from the floor. And then if for those of you all on the floor, I know there's probably loads of questions. If we could start with food policy related questions and then see how much time we have left for questions about other areas, because there's lots going on in ag, we'll go from there if that works. And Minister, if you could be as short and sweet as you could, that would be great so we can get through as many questions as we can. So the first question was, you kind of touched on already in terms of how the food policy could deal with food insecurity challenges. But I'm wondering if there are other areas within the policy framework that you see adjustments being made in light of the COVID-19 crisis, how they'll have to be changed.
Normally, we leave direct support to food banks and that type of organizations to provinces. And from the federal side, we will support through wider social program like the Canada Child Benefit, for example, to help the families in need, the seniors in need. And we came with the food policy, which was kind of a first step, or, you know, getting closer to the network of these organizations working in this part of the food system. You know, the NGOs, all of those who are interested in food security more. So the first intention was to give them more means to be better established, have greater capacity, and also building relationship, building regional, local food systems. So this is how the first local food infrastructure fund has been designed, to support them acquiring new equipment and building network within their community. So and with the pandemic, we started with direct support to these organizations. Also, the surplus food program was another way to buy surpluses from our farmers and redirect them to food banks. So we will see how it goes after the pandemic, and because direct support is not normally the federal business, but it will be more strengthening the capacity of the local organizations that we are looking at.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next question is, one of the main goals of the food policy is to increase integration and coordination of food-related policies and programs in the country. I'm wondering how the government actually plans to achieve that.
As I said, we have strengthened our links and developed the relation with the private foundations or organization and the NGO community working in the food security sector. But within the government, it's a whole of government, I would say, strategy and interest. For example, I'm working very closely with my colleagues, Minister Miller or Minister Vandal, who are in charge of providing services to Indigenous communities and supporting the Northern communities as well. So we are working closely together. Obviously, there's a close collaboration with the Health Minister when we think about the food guide or the strategy for the healthy eating strategy. So this is something that is of interest for many of us, including the Minister of Social Development, when we look at supporting families or looking eventually at the school food program. So many of us are involved in sharing, working together. And I would say the Minister of Environment as well, because when we look at the food waste path or food waste item of the policy, this is something that is also of interest to the Minister of Environment.
That actually leads very nicely into the next question on the list, which is how can a policy like the food policy for Canada help the federal government achieve its climate change goals, which is a major priority?
I think the food waste section is the one that aligns best with our objective to reduce our greenhouse gas emission. If we look at some numbers, food waste worldwide is responsible for 8% of the emission, so which is very, very significant. And when we are committed also to support the implementation and the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations, and the target is to cut by half food waste. So these are, things that are on our radar, and we know that we can make a difference making these initiatives good to support, to alleviate poverty or need for hunger. But also we know that it could have an impact on gas emissions, so that's nice. And when we look at the challenge that we have put in place, it's really for that. We know that 43% of our emissions in Canada are come from the middle of the food supply chain, so it's from the processing and manufacturing. So this is where we want to mainly improve the practices and bring new technologies to support that.
Awesome. So our next question comes from Pat, and she's wondering, what priority should our Canadian agriculture and food manufacturing delivery workers have with respect to vaccine access?
I won't be able to get into much details about that. The idea is that at the federal level, we have identified food workers as essential workers from the very beginning. But now the process around vaccination is really being led in the sense of giving direction from a scientific group, federal and FPT, federal and provincial scientists are sitting together and analyzing what would be the most efficient way to roll out the vaccine. And then it comes to the province, listening to these advices. At the end of the day, it's the provinces who will decide how it's being done, with all the support from the federal government. We're taking charge of the cost and of all the logistic around that, but the province is responsible for the order of priority, let's say.
Okay. So we have about 15 minutes left, because I understand there's a hard stop at 1:50 because the minister has another meeting at 2. So I have a couple more questions that have been sent in through me. So if everyone's in agreement, I'm going to ask those ones first, and then we'll go to live. Nod if you agree, wave if you don't like that plan. Okay. So the next question is, from Marty Brett. So the question has to do around BRM programs. So the government has directed farmers to use the BRM programs if depopulation is needed on farms or if plants are unable to process an event or plant shutdown because of COVID-19. Unfortunately, these programs do not work for poultry farmers as the cost of depopulation does not trigger the required BRM, namely agri-stability. Understanding this, what assurances can you give poultry farmers that the government support will cover the value of birds if they are required to depopulate?
Well, the poultry sector is under supply management with all its advantages and maybe weaknesses as well. But I think overall the system has done the job, and the different associations have been working well together. You have made hard decision, but still, the decision that needed to be taken to manage the supply, considering the reality caused by the pandemic. So when we look at the BRM, I've made a proposal to my provincial counterparts recently, and the priority is to, and my proposal, and I think we all agree on what should be the priority. There's a challenge around money, but in terms of priority, the first thing to be done is to remove the reference margin limit. And I wish we could also increase the compensation rate from 70 to 80%.
Okay, I don't see any other food policy questions, so I'm just going to keep going through the list that I've got, unless there's a food policy question from the floor. You can put your hand up in the participants list or holler at me. No, okay, so I'm going to keep going. So the next question has to do with U.S. agri-food trade. So do you, Minister, anticipate any changes to agri-food trade with the new incoming U.S. administration, particularly around supply management?
No, I don't. We have signed a new trade deal, and I'm very confident that the way we are putting it into force complies with the rules. And even if we are being challenged a little bit now, they are following the process. So I expect, I would say, even if it's never easy to deal with the United States, they are strong partners, and they will obviously defend their farmers as hard as we do for ours. But I expect, let's say, more predictability and more following the rules for the years to come.
Okay. Our next question is from Kathleen Gibson, and she's asking, forums such as Arrell Food Institute, Food Secure Canada, and the National Farmers Union are encouraging a diversity of voices with diverse perspectives on food priorities and post-pandemic solutions. Do you plan to entertain all perspectives? And will you support diverse solutions or seek for synthesis and consensus?
Well, I'm always open to wide consultation, and I appreciate diversity. This is why I advocate a lot for more women and more youth, and across the board in the ag sector mainly, and diversity and more widely as well. But I think at the end of the day, we will always be looking for some consensus. I'll be honest, but I'm not sure I really got the sense of the question, or if it was more specific.
I think she's just wondering whether certain voices will be, if you will listen to certain voices more than others. I'm wondering, is maybe the intention?
Well, we are really, we have been delayed because of COVID, but we will very soon be sharing the names of the, I forgot the exact name of the committee, but the advisory committee that will be following up on the food policy, supporting in terms of when we proceed with the design of new programs, identifying the targets we want to achieve and following up on these. So this committee will very soon be launched.
Oh, she's clarified. So she meant she's concerned that not all perspectives are possible to support. Some seem to be in conflict of other views.
I'm not, I don't know what she means exactly, but I mean, it always happens. So we do our best to be open-minded and to make decisions based on evidence.
Okay, so I have 2 more questions in the list, and then I've got 2 people on the list here. So I'm going to rapid fire 2 questions at you at a time. So the first question is from Myrna Stark, and she is asking, what is your message to environmentalists who tend to target the beef sector for their negative contributions to climate change? And then the other question that I have in the list is, nope, that's it. That one. Sorry.
I'm very
Kevin.
sensitive to the fact that I believe in the importance of all our agricultural sector, and I worry a lot with the mental health of our producers. And when you talk about beef or dairy and other meat sector who are being threatened, I'm very worried about that, and I think this is why I want to put a lot of more emphasis in my communication in terms and using the food policy to build more trust and understanding and trust and pride around what our farmers do in every sector. And I know that in every sector they are working hard to improve their practices and access new technologies because to protect the environment as well. And this is why through our green climate plan, we will invest in innovation. We will invest in finding ways to support them, learning about these best practices, having access to these new technologies, because the agricultural sector is first an essential. It's you know, they are essential workers. It's an essential sector. It's a matter of food security. It's a pillar of our economy. We want it to grow. We want it to grow sustainably, and I know how they are dedicated, and it's also very important for the consumers, Canadian consumers, and foreign consumers as well, who pay more and more attention to what they eat, how it has been produced. And this is why I want to position our Canadian producers rightly to be competitive and recognized as being always, you know, upfront in terms of protecting the environment.
Okay, so I know we have questions from the floor from Alan and Kevin. So Alan, if you want to go first, and then Kevin.
Okay, thanks.
And just Alan, make sure you're not on mute.
Yeah, I'm not on mute. Thanks a lot. Minister Alan Dawson, Manitoba Cooperator. As you probably know, a lot of discussion in the farm community around plant breeders' rights and saving seed and so on. And I'm wondering if and as part of that debate, there's a concern around the future of agriculture Canada and plant breeding. A lot of people are pointing to the deficit, the federal government deficit and debt, and are wondering how committed the government's going to be in the future in maintaining Canada's capacity to develop new varieties and so on. Could you speak to that? Is plant breeding in jeopardy post-COVID as you know, a means of reducing government spending?
We have no intention of reducing spending, especially not in science and innovation. And without getting into into this detail sector, because I must admit that it's been a little while since I've had an update on that. The idea was really to find the best approach, working closely with the industry, but it was in no way it was the intention was to find a way to back or to get the government out of these investment. We are serious that when we say that we believe science and innovation is important, and we want to continue investing in that.
Okay, and Kevin?
Minister Bibeau, on Friday, your government announced a plan for increasing the price on carbon, or the carbon tax, between now and 2030, but nowhere in the 79-page document does it say how farmers serving the export market are supposed to remain competitive. Farm fuel is exempt from the carbon tax currently, but many other costs, from grain transportation by rail to fertilizer manufacturing to drying grain, are not, and those costs will increase dramatically as the carbon tax increases. How are farmers serving the export market supposed to remain competitive in the world market?
I think the world market is also looking towards a greener economy and always more sustainable agriculture. They are asking for that. And all the revenues coming from the price and pollution will be redistributed within the province. And this is and all the provinces can do it the way they want, and they can redistribute it the way they want if they accept to take, this leadership. Some did not, so it was the redistribution was based on national program, and some of that has been redistributed to farmers through program under Environment and Climate Change Canada. And this is something that I will pay a lot of attention to, on seeing how we will be able to reinvest more money in supporting farmers to access new technologies. But beside this fund, we have also announced in this plan last Friday for more than $350 million through the Natural Climate Solutions and the Agricultural Clean Technology Programs. So a lot of programs to help farmers access these new technologies. The Living Labs is a good example where we will invest more, because we found that it was important to have researchers, scientists, and producers working together in the field, and it was the best way also to make sure that their findings are shared and multiply. So there will be a lot through this same plan. There will be a lot of support to farmers.
So, Minister, we have, noticing the time, we have one last question, if that's all right with you, and then we'll wrap. So our last question has to do with seasonal workers. This, of course, has been a major topic in the last 6 months to 10 months. And the question is, are there any new plans for seasonal workers or any adjustments to the programs in light of what we have seen happen in the last 10 months?
We have learned some lessons. I know that on the immigration side, we are really trying to, because last year we had to proceed with new, to use more the new technologies than the old paper way of doing things, to facilitate the arrival of temporary foreign workers. So I know that in terms of process, we are making it easier to be sure that we will have our workers for the 2021 season that is coming very soon, even sooner for BC, for example. On the labor side, because my two colleagues are working on this as well. Yes, we intend to improve the program itself. We're working on it right now. Nothing to announce, nothing for the next season yet. We are also working on national housing norms, and there's a consultation ongoing to be sure that the foreign workers, migrant workers will be treated with dignity everywhere. I know that most of our farmers are very good employers, but some are very bad, and we need to find a solution for, you know, some of these situations that we've seen this summer never happen again.
And just as a follow-up to that, I understand there are some seasonal workers who are trapped in Canada right now because their countries have imposed travel restrictions. Are there any plans for the Canadian government to provide support to those farmers and those workers who may need to stay in Canada over the winter?
Yes, I've had a discussion with Minister Hardeman in Ontario yesterday. We are, from our side, giving them an open work permit to facilitate their stay. In the same time, we are having discussions with the country, working on the diplomatic side as well. I know Minister Hardeman is closer to the field with the employers. So together we are trying to find different ways how we can accommodate them, depending on are they gonna, is it a matter of a few days or a few weeks, or are we looking for a bridge till the next season? So I don't have a clear answer to you, but we are following that on different fronts.
Excellent. Well, thank you all. Thank you very much, Minister, for your time and for taking so many questions on food policy and of course, all the other very interesting files that are happening in the ag space. It's never a dull moment these days, it seems, on the agriculture file. And thank you to all of you for your patience as I navigated technology, and hopefully I didn't miss anyone's questions. And if I did, I'm very sorry, and you can send me a message and tell me how I need to get better at multitasking. And so I'll turn it back to you, Trevor, because I know the minister.
Excellent. Thank you, Kelsey. Yeah, so everyone, just once again, thank you for coming. It's great to see. I think there's about 40 of us on the line, so it's really great to see that kind of engagement and participation. Again, I know everyone's busy these days, but we were still glad that you all came out. So yeah, we are recording this session, and I believe the Secretariat's office will send out a copy to members in case they weren't able to attend. So spread the word if you know other members who weren't able to be here but wanted to today. So again, thank you very much, Minister Bibeau. We really appreciated your time today, and look forward to continuing to engage with you in the new year on very important topics to farmers all across the country.
Thank you, and take care of you. It's been a tough year for everyone, so don't forget to take care of you as well. Bye-bye. Happy holidays.
Okay, and to all the farm writers, yeah, take care, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and we will see you very soon, hopefully. Okay, take care.
I have